Hello, everyone, and welcome to another Inkarnate live stream. Glad to have you here. We are continuing on our series of creating an epic mountain city. Now, if you missed the part one of this series, don't worry. I'll go ahead and put the link in the chat here. I'll go ahead and pin it for you as well. And go ahead and watch that first if you haven't seen that, instead of continuing on to part two. So now in this episode, we're going to be covering depth. We're going to be covering some shadow stuff. We're going to be covering some more city planning. In the last episode, little cap here, we did a little bit of city planning, but we mostly focused on creating the terrain. Terrain has a huge impact on the layout of your city. So we're definitely going to be kind of doing some recap on some of the city planning here. And then also we'll probably be doing a lot of walls, towers, and gates, as well as a main thoroughway, or what's called a carriageway, which is the main route that takes you to the central piece of a city. So definitely go watch part one if you haven't already, okay? All right, let's just jump right in here. So this is kind of what we put together in the first episode. You see this terrain here. You notice that I kind of used contrast, used dark and light to show height. So the higher something is, the more exposed it is to light. So it's a little bit brighter. So you'll see here that these parts right here would be the tallest points because they're the brightest. While down here, these are the lowest points, and that's why they're darker. Okay, so contrast is a great trick to create depth, but there's usually a little more to depth than just the contrast. Shadows can also play a huge role in creating this illusion of depth. See, we're doing a mountain city, so we really want to make a sense of depth in there. And so what we'll use is we'll use the top layer to do our shadow work. And the reason why it's so nice to use the top layer is because everything's underneath that. So you want the shadow of the mountain to be covering stamps, the road, whatever it might be. So it makes sense to do it that way. So what I'll do is we'll go over to the top layer. I'll choose a color. And instead of just using like pure black, I'll just use kind of a darker variation of gray. You could even throw in a little bit of green if you wanted to, like a really, really dark green, because you have some grass there on the ground. So it kind of makes sense to go into like a dark, dark greenish color. And then when you choose top, you want to make sure that you bring the opacity down, because if you don't, you're just going to have that color thick at 100%. So bring it down. I usually do about 30% for my shadow work. Right about here looks good. And then what I'll do is I might want to also decide like the overall shape of the shadows. So before I start painting, I could use like a path to create the outline of the shadow. And what you do first for the shadow work is you have to determine where the light source is. So where is the light coming from? So let's say that I want the light source to be over here somewhere, and it's kind of going this way. Now that I kind of have that, then I can go ahead and kind of draw in the general shape of the shadows. So since the light is here, maybe I want to have this. I really want to show that this is a really tall part right here. So I'll create a shadow here. I'll create a shadow right here. And then we'll also create a shadow right here as well. So that's kind of where my shadows are. And this is just an outline. You don't have to use, these doesn't be perfect. So what I'll do is I'll start by going in here like this, getting along those edges, and don't lift your pen. Or your mouse, whichever one you're using. And let's fill in that whole shape first. Okay, there we go. That looks good. I might even want to do more than that. So we'll see. I definitely want to put more shade. I'll just lifted it up. We'll do a second run right here along here. There we go. And I think I'll even just push it out all the way to the end here. And then I'll do one more right here like that. There we go. Now I'll go ahead and turn off or delete that here. And then there's your shadow right there. And we'll do the same thing right here. Pull in this shadow here. The beauty of the top layer, right? Now all the stamps will be underneath that, and I want that. I want my stamps to be in the shadow of the mountain. And then we'll go ahead and throw in that last one. Right here. There we go. There'll be more too. I think I'll put some more down there at the bottom. Now for this one down here, the thing is that the mountain is huge, so most of this is just going to be covered in shadow. So I'll increase the size, and I'm just going to go over the whole bottom part right here, like this. The whole bottom part. And I'll do one more along this edge right here. Okay, there we go. You see the difference? What happens when you start using those shadows? It really starts to pop out a little bit. Just remember to choose the direction of the shadow first. And when it comes to the shadow color, you can use black, but technically whatever the color around, like that green color right there, the ground, usually it's going to be around that color, but you could use whatever color that you want. That's up to you. So we'll go ahead and delete those. I'm only at 26 changes, but I'm going to save it. Whenever I do top layer work, I usually just save it right away. And I'll put some stamps down so you can see what I mean by the city being affected, or the stamps being affected by the shadows. I want to make sure that that point really gets nailed home. So like if I take this building right here and I place it right here, you're going to see that some of it's in the shadow and some of it's in the light. So that's the beauty of that top layer. We're not going to use this scale. I just want to make sure that you see the difference between being in the shadow and out of the shadow. So kind of a nice little trick that you have there. So then the next thing that I generally try to do here is I try to create the outline or the borders or the walls of the city. We need to know where exactly the city is going to be in its entirety. So what I generally do is I'll choose a stamp to be the walls. The design that I'm kind of overall going for is I want to have this kind of octagon shape. I'll kind of just show you that here. Check out this polygons here. We got 8. That's oct, right? So we got 8. We're going to remove any fill. And what I'll do is I'm just going to plate this shape right here. And I just kind of want to, what I'm kind of aiming for is we're going to create a series of walls inside the main walls as well. And so the city will kind of look like this. There's going to be city on a lot of the flat spaces. But if you wanted to have like multiple districts, then having inner walls is nice too. It just depends. Is it a class society? Is it limited between poor and rich? Is it a more egalitarian society where everyone kind of has the same amount of things? So if that's the case, then you don't need these inner walls dividing the different sections of your city. That's up to you. You have to decide for yourself what kind of city it is, the politics, the religion, all of those things are going to play a huge role. You'd be surprised how much they play a role into the actual layout of the city themselves. So for this one, I'm going to go with kind of a mix between both class and egalitarian, where I will have an elite section that's probably quarantined off, but I won't put a middle class and maybe a lower class. Maybe I'll kind of merge those in together. Usually the biggest district in your city is going to be your residential sections. Your elite sections are going to be a little bit smaller. There's usually a smaller group of elite, while the masses generally are, going to be in the residential. So, but you get the general idea of the shape of it. So we'll start here. I'm going to keep this here as a guide just to show where some of the walls are. And I'll kind of show you where we'll have stuff. We're probably going to have part of a city right here. This can be like the lower part of the city. And then maybe we can even put maybe like a guard station up here. And then all of this will also have city as well. All of this will have city, and this will be city right here, all in there. So all that negative space, wherever there's not mountain, that will also be a part of the city. And I'll also probably put some stuff in here like this, right? So generally when you're starting out, you want to show districts. I usually just kind of draw them out to kind of give me an idea of the different negative spaces that I have to work with. And then I can kind of decide where each district is going to be. So it's kind of helpful to kind of just use the line tool to kind of sketch it out, so you get the general idea about where it is. So what I'll do is I like to create what's called the main thoroughway. And I'll create this real quick and then we'll move on to the walls part. But the main thoroughway is just to show how people get to this area. So what I'll have is probably have a main route be like this, and then there'll be a centerpiece in the center, and that can be a temple, a cathedral, it could be the elite section, it could be a hanging gardens, it could be a palace, whatever it might be. If it's a more egalitarian society, maybe it's a commons area where people can get free food, they can enjoy being near a garden, swimming, whatever it might be that you want to be the centerpiece. But I generally do have a main thoroughway, which is like a main route that leads to that centerpiece, and then all other routes will kind of branch off wherever it might be. So that's kind of how I go about doing it. Is the main route goes to a centerpiece, and then off the main route are these little branching routes that go out to the other districts. So that's generally how that works. So let's create the boundary, like I was saying, the boundary. And so I'll go in with the line tool, stamp, and I'm going to choose what I want a wall to be. So the outer walls, and that means the walls that are not inside of the outer walls, those outer walls, we'll make those a bit thicker. I'll make them different. And so what I'll do is I'm going to create the boundaries. I'm going to use the pen right here, and I'm just going to use this to create the wall. Now this is absolutely massive, so we're going to bring it way down, much smaller. I think that works better. We can make adjustments as we go. So that part is complete. What about, let's go down here and create the other walls. So we'll create some walls here as well. We don't want people getting into this section right here, so we'll put walls there. And I'm going to flip it as well, because I want that brown part that you see, that's considered what's called the wall walk. So if you're ever confused on which side is going to be where the crenellations, the maculations are, that's those little tiny little square gray squares you see. Those are crenellations. And so those will want to be facing on the outside, away from the inside. That brown part is the wall walk. The wall walk. That is where your defenders are going to walk on top of the wall to position themselves against an attack. Now, these other sections right here are much smaller, so I'm not going to put heavy walls right here. There's really no need for it, but up at this top part, there absolutely should be. So let's go ahead and create the walls here. And you just follow along the cliff, basically. That's what I do. I just follow along the cliff. And I'm using a pen. I'm using a mouse. I'm not using a pen here. And I'm just going to create the wall part all the way along here. And then we'll have it stop and connect right here. Press enter. Remember, have things facing the right way. Wall walk is facing the right way. That looks good. So that section is done. And let's also put another wall right here as well. Press enter. Oh, it's facing the right way. Great. Okay. So now the outer walls have been completed. So this is the area that you're going to be working within. Does that make sense, right? You want to make sure that the work area is good. I'm obviously going to rotate this, I think, a little bit to where it's the same angle as this one. So I'll just put it right along here and make sure the angle is right. That looks good. Same thing here. Just going to make sure the angle is right. There we go. That way, there's some continuity in the wall shapes. There we go. Okay. Let's go ahead and just remove this. We know where the main route is. We know where the main thing's going to be. Let's take a step back and just kind of look at it so you can see it. 45 changes. I'll just save it real quick. All right, you guys are getting the general idea. That's why you start with the outer walls, because sometimes you don't know, like, where does the city boundaries? Where does it begin? Where does it end? So creating those outer walls first kind of creates the zones that you're going to be working within. Okay, let's just make sure. Oh, I see the wall walk is facing the right way. Thank you in the chat for catching that. Thank you, Pedro. All right, awesome. Appreciate the help there. Perfect. Everything's facing the right way. That's good. Well, let's go ahead and throw down some texture that's going to differentiate the sections from the mountain. So you see the texture I'm using right here is kind of this grayish color. I want to instead use another color to represent maybe some road texture. There's this desert street. Let's go put down street. We'll just punch this in here, and then we'll see the various options we have. So there's this nice street here. You've got this dark street, alpha stone. It just depends. I generally try to make because the stamps are a bit darker with all the thick line work and stuff, I try to make the ground a little bit lighter, and I'm using contrast to cause the stamps to pop out. So I'll start with this first, right here just to kind of see what it looks like. Those stones are massive. When you look at the size of the crenellations on this wall here, and then you look at the scale of this right here, those stones are pretty big. So we might want to scale them down just a little bit. We'll push this back at 100%. Let's go ahead and change. Go to advanced settings here. We'll scroll down, texture scale, bring it down. And I'm just going to maybe bring the brightness down just a little bit. I don't want it to be quite as bright as that. And I'll fill in the sections where there's city here. So let's go ahead and put it in here. That looks okay for now. We'll go ahead and put that in there. We're just going to fill in this whole section right here. And then we'll probably do some more texture editing. This is just to get us started, right? We just want to start to create the city area to make it stand out and look different from the mountain areas. So that's why we're going to add this texture here. And here. And I think there's some walls that I missed, and so I'll add them as well. Because there should be walls up in the upper area as well. We'll add those. Just one moment while I fill this in. Okay, and we'll take a step back and look at it too, so you can kind of see why I use a different texture for the city part than the mountain part. Kind of makes sense. And then right in here as well. And now sometimes you might have a stamp, like for instance, right here, you'll kind of notice that there's cliff right here that's sticking out. That looks odd. You can always use like a clipping mask for that. So if you go over to your here, and you can go ahead and type in fill, turn that stroke off, click clipping mask right here. I'm going to paint the clipping mask, and I'm just going to push it right here like that. And you'll notice that it's above it. Just push it down a layer until it's underneath. There you go. So that using clipping masks to hide part of the mountain, because you see that some of them kind of stick out a little bit, and that just doesn't look right. So if you run into that issue, you can totally fix it by just using clipping masks. Okay, not complex. Let's go ahead and add in the last sections. Now some of it, this up here is going to be like a citadel right here. So what I will use instead is I'm going to use the polygon, and I'm going to use a shape tool. And I'll select preview first, so that way I don't have to like edit it multiple times to get what I want. Instead, I'll have this preview. I can make the edits and then apply it to the screen. So preview is a great way to do that. So we use these polygons. We're going to use 8. We'll go ahead and use this shape. And then I'm just going to start in the center, and then we're going to create this nice octagon shape here. Plus, there we go. We're going to make sure the wall walk is facing the right way. We're going to add in the texture here. There we go. And then we'll add in the next sections as well. So not very confusing, pretty simple, pretty easy to put together. All right, let's take a step back and just see how it looks. Yeah, that looks good. There's some more sections I think that we're missing here. This one right here, we'll put some sections here and here. And what we'll do is we'll use the pen this time. And the pen will make sure that I do get a shape, and so the walls will connect. So we'll start at the top here, and we're going to create like an awkward shape. Like this. And we'll create what would be like the elite or whatever. And then we'll go ahead and put this here. Kind of make it like a bean shape. That might look more kind of interesting. Here we go. And just press enter. You're going to do add. There we go. Looks like we have it facing the wrong way, so we'll flip it. There we go. Yeah, we have that nice little kind of kidney bean or bean type shape. Perfect. Here we go. Let's take a step back. Just take a look at it. Yeah, looking good. I think we only have just a couple more sections left to add here. And then we can kind of move on to that next step. So pretty easy stuff here. You notice that things are kind of coming together. We have the shadows. We have each section put together. Yeah, this looks good. Let's go ahead and add in the last bits here. Let's go over to here. We're going to use a pen, I think, for this one. And what I want to do is just kind of create some wall right here. And I don't want it to go off screen because I don't, then I'd have to like resize the whole thing. So what I'll do is I'll just create a section right here like this. Again, you want that wall walk on the inside. So we'll flip it. There we go. And we'll go ahead and add the texture. There we go. All right, so things are coming together. I'll do a quick save, and then we're going to add some towers. We're going to add, and towers are like bastions. They're going to be defensible positions where troops can kind of gather. They want to have an array of arrows or arbalists or crossbowmen, whatever it might be. That's going to be important. So we'll throw in those. Let's go ahead and throw in the main route. Again, I'm just going to throw in that route I created right here. Oopsie, let's go ahead and use this one. The reason why I'm throwing in the route is because I want to know where my gatehouses are going to be. So we'll go ahead and throw that route in there. Okay. Now, when it comes to towers, you can space them out evenly. You can have them in strategic positions. It really just depends, right? For me, towers on a wall are all about strategic position. Like, where is it that enemy soldiers are going to siege? Where are they going to get in? That is where towers are going to be the most necessary. So when you place them on the wall, think about defensive positions. That's super important. Okay. First, I'll create the gatehouses just to get that out of the way. And there's a couple ones here. Here's a gatehouse. We're going to scale this way down. There we go. Let's go to about this big. Looks good. And we're going to put it on top, right? Make sure that these are on top. There we go. So you got one gatehouse here. And what I'll do is I'll construct it out of several pieces. I'll also put one right there and another one on top. And then I'll go ahead and use the default custom shadow here to kind of create what's called ambient inclusion. Okay, that's just adding a dark shadow at the base to make it pop out. That's basically what that means. So I'm going to throw in some shadow here, and that's really going to cause that to pop out more. So now you have this nice gatehouse at the entrance, and there's two towers on the edge, on the end of it. So I'll just copy and paste that gatehouse and put it again right here. Another gatehouse goes right there. Perfect. Okay, so you're getting the general idea. Copy and paste to keep those things. Makes it a lot easier. Okay, so we got that. Let's go ahead and add in those defenses. So I can just copy and paste this tower. And what I'll do is I'll just place them evenly just to make them look good, I think. Or close. They don't have to be perfectly even or separated. But let's just put a couple here. One in this corner right here looks good. You'll notice that the line tool kind of shows it doesn't really connect right. So to fix that angle, you can just put a tower right on top. See? Same thing. I can do it over here. Ooh, that angle looks a little weird right here. So I'll just add a little tower to hide that. Kind of a nice little trick, isn't it? So that way you can kind of hide those things and it still looks nice. Same thing here. Let's go ahead and add a tower here. This one right here connects okay. Let's keep going and look over it. Anything out of whack? Yeah, that's a little out of whack. Let's put one there. And let's take a look at these. No, these connect pretty well. I think these connect well. Ah, that's a little off. Let's go ahead and throw one here in these kind of corners right here. And on this edge, I think is a good one right here where they end. Kind of a nice spot. Put one here. You guys are getting the general idea. Pretty simple stuff. All right, let's go ahead. Looks good, looks good. Let's place some here as well. There we go. So you're kind of getting the idea where to put those towers at. Not too complex. And then with this one, we'll just put one on each corner. And I think that would look kind of nice. Oopsie. I didn't want to select that. You are just going to undo that. Okay, we're just going to keep copying and paste one to each corner. I think that's just going to make it look nice. Okay, let's take a step back and just see how it looked as a whole. We can go ahead and delete that for now. We can come back to it in a bit. Let's take a step back. Let's save it. Not complex, pretty easy stuff. You guys are getting the general idea of it, right? Now you can see the city parts are clearly distinguishable from the mountain parts. We've done that. You've put the towers in. Remember, just place them wherever there's going to be the most defenses. So if soldiers are planning on attacking this particular part of the wall because it's the main gate to get in, then you're probably going to want to have more towers there so that troops can gather, men-at-arms can gather, and then repel the attackers. So defenses is a big deal. And some people are more obsessed with the realism part, like, oh, it's got to be defenses here and there has to be defenses there and all that stuff. Some people are more obsessed with that than others, so that's just up to you. The only reason why I'm putting in there is to kind of curb those people who are obsessed with the having some more realism to having a lot of these defensive positions. You don't have to do that. That is up to you. I mean, you may never have a siege in your campaign, so there might not be a purpose to have that. So it's just really a matter of personal preference when it comes to that kind of stuff. So now that I've kind of added that in there, let's go ahead and put in some access points. That means how is the players going to get from this section down here up to this tower, this gatehouse right here, or how are they going to go from the ground down here up to this gatehouse right here? So what we'll do is we'll create what's called landings. And a landing is like an open space where people can like gather or whatever. And so for this right here, we'll create a little landing. And I don't want to use these thick walls right here that have the crenellations. Instead, I'll use a different wall. So we'll go to line tool. We'll go ahead into the catalog and we'll choose something else to be the landing. And what I'll do is a nice little trick is I'll just go ahead and create the shape. We're going to do a preview. And I think what I'll do is I'll have the fill will actually be the mask tool. And what I'll do is I'll create a shape that I want. We're going to go add. There we go. And I think the stamp scale is a little thick. And I'm going to place this like this. I'm going to put it underneath this as well. So we'll go down underneath. And this is going to be what's called a landing area right here, okay? It's like a staging area. This is an area where if you, let's say that you, this is the main gate and you want to have like a customs and you want people to wait. And so let's say there's a lot of people coming into the city and you want an area for the people to wait here first before entering. And so that, and it's also like a staging area for like troops or whatever. So we'll go ahead and put that on there. And I'm going to just go ahead and put that same texture. Remember, that's why it's so important to add those clipping masks. So the staging area is there. So that part's done. Now, what about some stairs that kind of go down to it, right? So we might maybe want to add some stairs. And you can use the line tool. You could use stamps. It's up to you. I'll show you a cool trick on how to kind of put that stuff together. So what we'll do is we'll go ahead and type in stair into the catalog for here. I'll type that in. I think this right here, this stair looks nice, so we'll use that. And I'm going to use the pen for this. And there's a couple things that you can do. So one way that you can kind of show height is by creating what's called switchbacks. And a switchback looks like this. So a switchback, well, I'll use a pen here. This is what switchbacks look like. A switchback. It's how you create a series of stairs with a slow, gradual incline instead of a straight staircase that goes straight down and a huge incline. Like it's going to be a much larger incline. So to avoid that major incline, you can do switchbacks. That's up to you. Now, I'm not going to worry too much about that, but for those of you who are obsessed with details like that, I recommend that. Oopsie, looks like I accidentally didn't put in the stair there. So you could just do a stair going straight down. We'll change the scale here. A little too big there. You could go straight down like this, and then just place it right on top like that. You could do that, or you could do the switchbacks. You could do an L shape, so you could just go down like this, and then do another one down like this. So you could do that. So a lot of different options here. If you are going to do this kind of shape, you'll notice that stairs kind of act funky in that corner. So what I do is I just put like a landing there. And there's a lot of things that can act as like a landing. You could use, let's see here. You could use this right here for a landing. Is there a square one? Let me see. Oh, there's a square one right here. You could try using this. Let's try that. What I'll do is I'll just go to saturation. There we go. And then I'll scale this down. And I'm going to make it scale so it's big enough. Okay. And what that will do is it will hide that really ugly, inconsistent corner there. And so you have like a landing right here so that you go up and then up further into there. I hope you get the general idea. I think I have to flip this too, because I think the shadow, if you're ever struggling with which direction the stairs are facing, pay real close attention right here. And you'll kind of notice that there's this little tiny little shadow right there. Okay. That tiny little shadow right there, that tiny little shadow, that's to show where the riser or the lift is in the staircase. So that means these stairs are going up. If you wanted them to go down, then you would grab it and you would flip it and the shadows would face the other way. So I hope that kind of makes sense. There's something called a riser, and that's the flat part where you stub your toe by accident when you're going up the stairs. That's called the riser. That riser casts a little shadow or ambient occlusion to show height. Okay, so it's important to kind of remember that. And if you want, you could even put like a tiny little barbican right here. If you're don't know what a barbican is like an exterior gatehouse that's on the outside that's not necessarily attached to the wall. They became irrelevant like after cannons were invented. But if you wanted a small little barbican just right there, you could just put a little barbican right there and a little extra sense of defense so that people can't get in. I hope that kind of makes sense. There we go. And you would normally see a barbican like attached to a castle, but you can totally add a barbican in with your city as well. It doesn't really matter. Okay, let's go ahead and increase that object shadow so I really show the depth of that. And then also, I think I'm going to use caps for this. So what I'll do is I'll go into this here. This says path endings, but let's put the caps on the nodes. That means the little dots. So you notice that those caps have now been added onto the nodes in the corners, and I think that looks nice. What I will do is bring the brightness down as well on these stairs, just to show that there's depth. Same thing here. Let's bring the brightness down on this. There we go. All right, nice. Okay, so that way there's some depth there. Let's go ahead and quickly do some saves. We're going to step back, look at it, and then we're also going to save. So that entrance is coming together rather nicely. So you're kind of getting the method in which I use when I start to put the city together. I start at my entrance, and then I kind of move my way along the main route to the centerpiece. And that's a great way to kind of have a method for you, because cities are so big and it's so easy to get discouraged because it's a big project. There's no way you're going to make an epic city in just a couple of hours. This is going to be, a couple weeks of working on it. Unless you're just, very dedicated, then you might get it done in maybe like 10 or 15 hours. There's just no getting around that. So just have a little bit of patience, and believe me, the city always looks better when you take your time with it. Now I'm going to quickly just select this and make sure it's a little bit more centered like this. And so you kind of have that barbican there. So that works out really, 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 really nice. Now from there, what I'll do is, again, we'll go ahead and take that road. Excuse me, sorry. So here's the route. Basically, it's going to go like this, up to here. So what I want to do now is I want to do the same thing, right? I want to create the access from this section down here to that gatehouse up there. And the beautiful thing is I can just use this same thing I just used right here and just put it right here. So this is another kind of platform right here. So that's perfect. There you go. Where are we at for time here? Oh, 34. Yeah, we got some time. Perfect. We'll keep going. All right, so we'll go ahead and place that platform there. There you go. And now what I might want to consider doing is making a series of platforms. So your players travel up one platform, take a pair of stairs, and then go up to the next platform. So let's go ahead and do that. So what I'll do is I'll make sure that if you select the shape that you want, and then once you select it, it will save the last shape. And so what I'll do is I'll put another one right here. Right here, let's go to add. And I'll make sure to go ahead and put it in here. Let's actually remove that. Let's put one right down right there. That looks great. Perfect. Okay, there we go. And now I can kind of create a staircase that kind of goes up to this thing right here. And I don't think I'm going to use the shape tool or the line tool. I think I'll just use stairs as a stamp because I don't really need a whole lot. Let's just make sure that I have the scale correct. And so I'll go over here and just make sure that I have the same scale. Kind of helpful. That's why the first stamps you place down are a big deal, because it helps you kind of decide scale. So I think that looks good there. We'll place it right here, right on top right there. I think that looks good, and it will lead right up to here. And then we'll go ahead and use, let's see here. I'm debating about whether or not I want to create a switchback. I think that's what we'll do. We'll end up making a switchback. I think I can kind of do it. So the way that I go about doing this is I'll go here, staircase here, staircase down here, 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 and here. All in here. Okay. And the same thing here. We'll add the stairs here. There we go. And you'll kind of notice that there's that same problem, right? And so we'll just use those landings that I used right down here, right? Same thing. Just go ahead and copy and paste this. Place them on those corners. And then that will fix that problem that we're dealing with right there. So I'll make sure that it's lined up properly. Copy, paste. One here, one here. There we go. You guys are getting the general idea. Kind of these landings that kind of go up. I wish the stairs would work better in those corners, but they don't. But you're getting the general idea. There we go. So you have some stairs that go up, a landing, stairs, landing. And if you feel like the railing, there's no railing, we can also create a railing around that as well using the line tool. So if you kind of feel like, well, it doesn't really match, there's no railing there, don't worry. We can do that. Okay. So you have that kind of going up. There we go. Let's make sure that the shadow is facing the right way. I think it's facing the wrong way. So let's flip. There we go. Okay. Now the shadows are facing the right way. Remember, the shadows of the riser. We do have a staircase stream on YouTube. You should definitely watch that. I know some of you might say, well, I don't need to watch a stair video. Yes, you do. Trust me. The stairs are super important because I've seen a lot of people struggle with what's up, what's down, how do I create a staircase where one goes up and one goes down? How do I go about doing all that stuff? That video will help you. So definitely go check that out on the YouTube channel, okay? Okay, let's go ahead and take a step back and just see how it looks. All right, so we got the switchbacks that go to here. Sweet. Awesome. Looking good. So we have that put together. Right, I'm liking that. Let's go ahead and quickly save it. We'll check our time here. 37 minutes. Yeah, we can go on for just a little bit longer. Hey, first-time chatter, by the way. I'm sorry I missed you there. Welcome. Glad that you are here. Awesome. So things are coming together. I really like the direction that this kind of city is going into. So the next thing is, again, more access points, right? Like, how is it that people are going to get up to this Citadel area? How are people going to get up to this elite section right here? And in fact, we might want to add another wall piece right here to this section because I want to have another tier right here. So let's do that. And what I'll do is I'll select this shape right here. Perfect. And then I can use the pen. And then what I'll do is I'll create a wall right here. The beauty of the line and shape tools, right? Just makes life so much easier. So I'll press enter. Again, wall walk. Want that facing inward. There you go. Okay. And then we'll also place down these towers as well. And I'm going to place them in the spots again, especially in those corners where you kind of feel they look a little weird. So we'll put one there as well. And I also want to put some on this one up here as well. Just put a couple here. There we go. It can be rando. It could be separated. It just depends on, again, it's all about the defensive position. If you don't feel that attackers are going to have the ability to scale all the way up to here, you don't need a lot of towers. You probably only need them at the entrance. So that's kind of the beauty of that, right? So just kind of keep that in mind. Let's go ahead and paint in this section right here. There we go. Things are looking good. Okay, let's take a step back. There we go. That section's coming together. Let's talk about the access points to get up to here. So there's a couple ways that I could go about this. You could have the access point be right next to the gatehouse. So if you want access to this section right here, maybe we want to show how exactly that we get there. So I kind of like this part. And I think for the sake of simplicity, like how easy it is to get to this spot, just having an access point just be right here probably works good. And then it will go into this access point right here. So I'll just leave that there for now. I'll bring the size down so I can kind of see it. There you go. And again, we can follow that same trick that we did, right? We copied and paste. We could put a defensive landing right here, just right there. That works out great. Maybe we want to put a gate. Copy, paste, just put that right there. Ah, the beauty of copy and paste, right? There we go. So now you have those nice entrances there, so that's good. And I don't think I'm going to put, I think I could use this smaller landing and just put this right here. And that way there's a nice small landing right there as well that kind of leads up to that point. Let's go ahead and fill in the texturing here. There we go. Nice. There we go. Looks nice. You guys get the general idea. Coming together pretty nice, huh? Okay. Now let's go ahead and just use this right here. We'll go ahead and choose staircases. Let's see here. Let's do, let's use these stairs right here. This one right here looks kind of nice. And I'll flip this. I'm going to put it on right here like this. And what I'll do is I'll probably have two. Let's put one right here like this. Actually, let's flip it around. My bad. I'll flip it around because I can see the shadow. And then I'll put another one right here like this. There we go. And I'll probably push it up a little bit. There we go. There we go. I'll push this in a little bit more. There we go. And if you feel like it's not right, then I can always transform it, change the height. Oopsie, that is the width. I want the height. There we go. Okay. All right. So that staircase kind of leads into there. I'll bring the scale down a little bit more just to match in. There we go. And then we'll have to add in some more shadow work because I want to put more shadows on the walls, more shadows on the landings, on the staircases. We'll get to that later. For now, we'll kind of just focus on this stuff. So let's go ahead and do this one. I'm going to go ahead and grab it, copy, paste. Let's have this one going up to here. Put it just right here on the side. There we go, just right up there. And then we'll have another one going. Let's put a much bigger one right here. And we'll just stack it on top of each other. There you go. Okay. Let's take a step back, look at it. Let's center this a little bit more. See, not that one. Oopsie. There we go. Okay. Oop, I noticed I'm on that. My bad. Okay, let's go ahead and save real quick. All right. Hey, we are doing well. Thanks. Hey, Frost John. Welcome. Yep, I am doing good. Thank you for asking, by the way. Okay, where are we at for time? Ooh, you know what? We're getting close to the end of it here. Let's just, yeah, let's call it good for now. So what we're going to be doing here in the next episode is we're going to continue on the access point. So we want to add, well, actually, let's continue on real quick. Let's just quickly do some access stuff real quick. I want to do that. Let's add in the last access points. I don't want to finish it in the middle of something. So we'll quickly add these access points and then we will call it good. So let's go ahead and put that one there. And I'll probably put a gatehouse there. This is kind of like the Arichi Elite area. So it doesn't hurt to copy and paste. Put it right here. There we go. So you see there's this next access point. We're almost done with all this access stuff. This just takes time. And we'll throw in one more staircase that leads to that access point. There we go. And I'll just go and put it right here. There we go. Right on that side looks just fine. And again, we want to paint it. Don't forget. There we go. Awesome. There we go. All right. Okay. Oops. Dropping stuff here. Okay. Let's take a step back. We can go for, let's just go for another 15. We'll go for the full hour. I was trying to cut them short to 15, but what we'll do is we'll keep going. So let's just keep going here. I just want to make sure that I have all my access points. This is to the main gatehouse. This leads into the lowest level. The staircase, this switchbacks lead up to this landing. up to the main section right here. We've got steps that lead up into here. There's a gatehouse to defend this section. Steps that go up into where the Citadel will be. That works out great. Perfect. Want to make sure that there's access to get here. Walk up, goes into here. Perfect. And we also need to have an access point to get down to here. So what I'll do is I'll use a longer staircase. And I'll just kind of put that right here. It's a nice little spot right here. Fits on there rather nicely. Good size. And then that, so from you go up into here and then you go down into this section right here. So I think that looks good. Let's just take a step back. Yeah, I think overall this looks good. And normally you would do the extra shadowing for this kind of stuff. So I'm going to shadow just one, and then I'll do shadowing off screens another time. So we'll go ahead and choose that dark green color that I chose. Remember to bring that opacity down to like 30, 31, around there. We'll bring the size down. And this is just to show the shadow or the ambient occlusion for this. So I'll just go ahead and just throw in some ambient occlusion here. You'd have a darker shadow in here. Here, just to kind of make it pop out a little bit. Same thing here. Just going to paint it in a little bit. That will cause it to pop out a little bit more. Don't want to go do it. Don't want to go haywire or anything. Add that in there. Nice little dark shadow. Same thing here. Add a dark shadow here. Same thing here. We'll add a shadow here. That will really cause the things to pop out more. Let's go over here to this entrance. Add in a shadow here. Don't forget that shadow here. Again, the beauty of the top layer is so that you can get those shadows so everything's underneath. Just know that filters are also going to be beneath the top layer. So top layer means above everything. That includes filters. So just kind of keep that in mind. And there are ways to get around, because what it is that if you have a top shadow, a shadow made with the top layer, and you put like a cold warm filter, which makes it kind of purplish, then I recommend that you make the shadows a dark purple color so that will match with the filter. Same thing if you use parchment. It's a deep kind of reddish, brownish color. Then use a brownish, reddish color for the shadows. Because once you put a filter on it, once you put filters on it with a top layer, and I'll go ahead and just give you an example to show you. So if I go to filter here and I add cold warm, you'll kind of notice that the shadows are still this kind of weird color, right? So the way to avoid that is have your shadows be a darker purple. That will help it out, right? Same thing if I use again, I mentioned parchment. So use a darker color variant of the filter that you're using. So it requires a little bit of planning. You don't have to use all these other filters. You could just use a simple clarity filter and it will have zero effect, in my opinion, on the top layer. So clarity is just a great filter to use in general. So if I turn it off, you'll see the difference. It kind of makes things bright, pops out a little bit more, and the top layer is not disturbed or pops out because of the filter. Color filters are always going to do that. They're going to make the top layer look out of place. So just kind of factor that in there, okay? But you can leave clarity on or just use clarity, because to me, it's like one of the best filters that you can use. So just kind of remember that, okay? Okay, let's just take a look around, see where we're at. Oh yeah, we'll add in some last bit of shadow work here. We're getting there. Adding in some shadows here. We'll add a shadow here. There we go. All right. All right. And then here we go. Yeah, I think that looks right. We have the landings there. There's a little problem right here. I think this looks really bright. There should probably be a shadow right here. So let's go ahead and just throw in a little dark right there. There we go. It seems like a little light spot right there that shouldn't have been there, because it should be in the shadow of the mountain. Open up layer, and we'll just look for any other kind of inconsistencies. You really want to show that the wall is really tall, then just add in a really thicker shadow to really make the wall seem taller. So just kind of know those tricks when you're kind of putting it together. So I'm going to quickly save it, and then we'll go ahead and call it good, and we'll discuss what we're going to be doing in the next one. So once you've kind of put all these access points in, then you want to start putting together the inner walls that are going to separate the districts. Now, you don't have to use inner walls. Again, if it's a more egalitarian society, don't have any inner walls at all. Don't have distinctions between groups. Okay, so that's just up to you. You just got to figure out, what that is in your city, what kind of setup it is. And we'll kind of focus on that in the next one. The inner walls, we'll start putting down some distinguishable roads, because once you start putting down the roads, then the districts really start to come to life. And we'll start at the beginning and then move our way towards the centerpiece. So I hope you found this helpful. Oh yeah, great point there, Oaken. I'm glad. Cool. All right, so we'll call it good. We went for a good solid 50 minutes here. We're going to call it good. And we'll go ahead and finish this in another stream. The next stream coming up is next Monday. It's a masterclass. If you're not familiar with what masterclass is just for power users. Those of you who are familiar with the tool and want to go beyond just the basic stuff that you use the tool for. So I'm looking forward to that. I love masterclasses. We're going to be covering medieval heraldry. We're going to be showing you how to put it together. We'll cover a diagram. I'll show you how to put your own fantasy heraldry together. Every noble house, lord, empire, faction needs a banner, needs heraldry to kind of show their coats of arms, what's called vexillology. I think it's called vexillology. I can't remember. Vexillology, I can't remember. But you guys get the idea. So we'll be covering that next Monday. I'm super excited about that stream. I love making heraldry. All right, thank you everyone so much for joining. I will see you all next Monday or Wednesday. Please stay safe and healthy and merry map making. I'll see you all later, everyone. Take care now, please.